There are people who legitimately believe that I am insane for documenting what it is like to be me or to be like me, especially with consideration for the level of critical analytical depth that I dive into as I do so. Let's take this comment for example. I blocked out his name. He says, "Why most people don't care, or at least sane people, it doesn't matter. Only when, for short periods of time in the cycles of history, does your sort of insanity take hold." Right? And I told him, I accept your opinion. Right? I didn't fight it because there's no point in burning the energy. Right? But when people say these sorts of things, they hurt. Right? But what I've developed the stoic ability to do is, right, I'm not reading a script or anything like that. I'm not, because sometimes like I write what I'm going to say out and I might read it on screen. No, this is completely organic, off the top of my head. I've developed a stoic ability to hold my own potential narcissistic defense mechanisms when responding to people who may call me insane. I have never been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. We all have narcissistic or egoistic defense mechanisms whenever we feel pain. And with a great amount of self-reflection over years, I have learned how to control that initial impulse to just snap at people and dismiss them, especially when they attack my intelligence or insanity, or thereby implying that I am insane, like this man is. With that in mind, we are all on the narcissism spectrum. When you go into narcissistic personality disorder, is when you cross a certain line in the spectrum, right? If you have an ego, we're all capable of narcissistic traits. We all have narcissistic traits. Everyone from Freud, Jung, and all major psychologists throughout history have acknowledged this, right? So it's like, what I've learned is to be attacked in every conceivable way, from my race or racial makeup, should I put more accurately, my sanity, my intelligence, my origins, traumatic experiences. And it is not that I don't feel pain. I feel every bit of it. It is that I have learned to control my responses and how to deal with the initial catalyzation of the pain that I do feel, and still control how I respond, right? And I think that's, if you can do that if you can achieve that level of self mastery, then you can really do anything, just about in Western society. With that in mind, I really took words like that into consideration, because who am I to be so sure of my sanity, right? Who is anyone to be so sure of their sanity? I could criticize him and saying, what makes you so sure that you're, in your perception, that you're the sane one, right? Maybe you're living a lie. And I'm going to break down my perspective with self-control and respect for for people who believe these things, that it doesn't matter. Now, on the day-to-day, your biology doesn't matter, right? Let's just put that out there. Like, if I'm going to the store, if I'm going to a corner store and just buying, interacting with the teller, no, it doesn't matter at all. Right, just putting that out there. What makes or breaks a person, though, are the extreme situations. And I have been pushed into extreme situations several times throughout my life. And that's where I have gained the most of my wisdom from, or is the extreme experiences. So this comment was posted on a video in which I talked heavily about how I realized that my genomic makeup was helping me out there in the high altitudes and cold. And for someone to say, well, that doesn't matter. Yeah, it does. Because, all right, I'm going to go into not responding to him, but to the archetype of him, of course. People who share his opinion. if I were to go to an entrepreneur convention, and let's say and there are many. I've been to many. I've been to one in Rome, and I've been to many. All right, so let's say I get on stage, and there are many people of many different cultures in the room. Let's say we're in a major city, such as Rome, and let's say I look at the audience, and it's the colors of the rainbow. You have white people there, you have brown people there, you have Asian people there, you have black people there. Like every possible color, every possible pigmentation, every possible culture is in there, right? Every major culture. And let's say I'm on stage. Now, by the way, when I say this, I've been to many entrepreneurial conventions. I'm not. Only once have I been the speaker. I've been to conventions, but I'm usually the person in the audience, right? So only one time have I actually been the speaker. And videos of that, clips of that, are actually on this channel. You can actually just go to the main channel page, and you can find those. But anyway, let's say I'm on stage, and let's say a guy named Muhammad from Sudan raises his hand and asks me a question, and he says, "Mike, how did you do it? How did you go from surviving in the cold of the mountains in China to building your business and blah, 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 and making to the level of success you are?" And, even though you're not a billionaire at this point in time, you're still exponentially more successful than 99.99% of the population, the human population. How did you do it? Right? The person who really believes, or at least touts that they believe, that your bloodline, the elements of your bloodline don't matter, will tell you, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. Right? That's what they'll tell little Muhammad. They'll say, if I can do it, you can do it too. Really, Mike Norton? Yeah. Just buy my course, right? And learn my 10-step method for how to go from X to Y and Z in just 4 years. Just pay me $20,000 for this course, and you'll learn all my secrets, right? Who does that sound like? That sounds like you're run-of-the-mill entrepreneurial con man, right? Nobody wants to tell little Muhammad the truth that, you know what? I can tell you step by step what to do. Right? But that does not mean that you'll yield the same results that I gained while I was out there, and to get from point A to point B where I am now. Anyone can do anything to a certain extent, right? But that's the difference between me and someone who will push the idea that your bloodline doesn't matter. Yes, it does, right? The people who are insecure about their bloodlines, they're insecure about their genetic advantages in society, will say that it doesn't matter, or they'll try to push the argument that your individual mutations, because that is the correct terminology to use, your individual mutations do not give you any sort of advantage over the person sitting next to you in class. Yes, they do. Note, I'm not even talking about the IQ school of thought. I'm not even touching IQ, even though that's a whole other bag of chips in and of itself. We could go into IQ and how that's primarily genetic as well, and how that influences nearly every major factor of your life. Yes, your bloodline absolutely matters. All of these things really matter. And so what I did was gradually break free from the lie that it didn't. And how I did that was continually questioning why certain things were possible for me that I knew weren't possible for others. If I were to tell little Muhammad from Sudan, who was born and raised, not just born and raised, but evolutionarily designed to function better in the heat in a way that, I'm not, right? Because there's a difference between heat radiation and UV radiation. I'm good with UV radiation, but I'm not good with heat radiation, whereas Muhammad would be good with both, most likely, right? If I were to really honestly sit there and tell him, oh, you know what? Don't worry about the thousands of years of evolutionary pressures that shaped you into who you are. with your individualistic strengths and weaknesses. If I can do it, you can too. That's in the extreme situations, it's just not true. And it does matter. And it is in the extreme situations, it is the extreme situations that determine who makes it and who gets broken by those pressures. Whose business succeeds or fails, who survives and who doesn't survive in X, Y, and Z scenarios, right? And then those people, via consequence, go on or not to shape society as we know it. And so, when people like this tell me that my experiences don't matter, that I don't matter, and dismiss me as insane, it's ironic that I don't dismiss them. I do, in fact, perform an azimuth check. And I do question my insanity because maybe I am. Right? But after reading this comment, I genuinely took it into consideration. And here's the conclusion that I came to. I will no longer allow myself to feel bad for posting about culture the way that I do. Why? For yet another logical fallacy I just realized about the left-wingers who tell me I neither exist nor matter. If a Japanese person posts about what it is like to be Japanese, left-wingers are like, oh, cool, yeah, let's all dress up as anime characters. If a Mexican person posts about what it is like to be Mexican, left-wingers are like, oh, cool, yeah, we understand, that's why we should open the borders. But let a culturally mixed person post about the dichotomy of his cultures in the same exact way, it's, you have mental issues. No, you guys wanted diversity. You created me. Ergo, I am merely posting about what it is like to be the child of the very monster as the very monster you created. It is not that I have so many issues. It is actually you guys who want to mix cultures only to tell the offspring of those mixed cultures that they don't matter. The same way those very left-wingers will tell pure-blooded black lives that they matter. Guess what? My life matters too. I see through yet another layer of political gaslighting. It is correct that I post about how each culture both empowers me and the struggles I go through with each. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is not insanity. There is your azimuth check. Right. And then there are some comments I interact with down, below. And I say, but at least now, I can genuinely say that I really did entertain the notion that I was insane for posting the way that I have. I did not dismiss the claims. I accepted them and processed them, thereby coming to this conclusion. I absolutely question my sanity in a healthful way. Right, and you can see this person talks about the left, and I say, it is truly, and you can pause the video to see what's going on. I'm trying to not make this video so long. It is truly, Mike, the way you think makes me uncomfortable, and I can't stand that discomfort. So there has to be something wrong with you. Negative. The consequences. They want X, but not have to face the reality of Y as a consequence. It's this, and down here I say, it's the same dumb shit as when white lefties say, we support minorities. Me. Okay, how about me? Except you. But I and my growing people, right, the Eurasian Negroids, are actually a smaller minority. You don't exist. You don't matter. You have mental issues. Right, do you understand the blatant contradiction here? All right, so, and knowing what I know about my bloodline and my own individual mutagenic advantages that will get me through certain extreme situations, but that would kill others. It's one of the main reasons why I don't bother going on a crusade to save black people or to start speaking in classrooms and all that stuff. It's not the only reason, but it's the main reason. It's the fact that I know that if I were to really try to sit there and pretend like we're all the same, that my mutations, whether visible or invisible, whether phenotypically dominant or not visible to the naked eye, yet powering everything behind the scenes. If I were to really stand before a classroom of black kids, right, pure-blooded black kids, and tell them, yeah, sure, you can survive in the Chinese wilderness, sure. 90% of those kids are going to die. Right, and it is easy to disrespect someone like me for telling that truth rather than selling the lie that makes people feel good about themselves, feel better about themselves and their own limitations, while using that as an opportunity to make money off of them, right? Dear Eurasian Negroids of the future, do not let lefties, or even if they're not left-wing, anyone, don't let anyone, regardless of the political affiliation, gaslight you or high road you out of mastering who you truly are and what you are capable of. They may try to project that you are exhausting and mentally ill. And even if you do suffer from one mental illness, it doesn't mean that you suffer from another that they may imply that you do, right? Or you might have depression, but depression is not the same thing as schizophrenia, for example. Like, so watch out for that. They'll try to do that too. Don't let them run away and get away with the consequences of their own social engineering once they lose control of the monster that they themselves created. You exist. You matter. You're not insane. Your experiences are real. And hold them accountable for it. Just because other people run from the dragon doesn't mean that you should follow suit. Face your inner dragon. Slay it or master it. And don't apologize for any of it. Do not apologize for who you are.